بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم أفضل الذكر بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم عظم الله أجورنا وأجوركم بمصابنا بسيدنا ومولانا الإمام الحسين عليه السلام وجعلنا الله وإياكم من الطالبين بثأره بين يدي الإمام المنصور المؤيد المهدي من آل محمد صلى الله عليك يا رسول الله وعلى روحك وبدنك الطاهرة صلى الله عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك عليكم مني جميعا سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين خصوصا سيدي ومولاي كفيل الهواشم قمر بني هاشم أبا الفضل العباس السلام عليكم جميعا يا شهداء كربلاء ورحمة الله وبركاته أما بعد يقول الله في كتابه الكريم وقوله الحق وهو أصدق القائلين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وإذا سألك عبادي عني فإني قريب أجيب دعوة الداعي إذا دعان آمنا بالله صدق الله العلي العظيم. Illuminate your hearts and minds with a very loud salawat. Respected brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Everyone will go through a moment in their life where they will need to make a critical decision. One where the odds are not in their favor and basically disorientated. Whether I decide to pursue my next career or my venture or move, the decision I am going to make right now is going to be a big one. It is like boarding a ship. If I go, it's going and I'm not returning. Therefore, I need to now come up with a decision. Do I do it or do I not? Many people will resort to consulting the Holy Quran in the process. And this is called Istikhara, Khira, otherwise known as. I want to seek out the wisdom of Rabbul Alameen in this very critical decision. The situation and circumstance we have just laid out regarding a very disorientated case, a person unable to make one decision over the other, and the following decision is a very critical one, is what Istikhara is meant for. The reality today, we observe many constantly consulting the Holy Quran or referring to others to help take an istikhara for them for matters that are very petty, fickle, small, unnecessary, redundant, and common sense focused. One man would request an istikhara. I recall my father saying that if he can go to Hajj or not. The response came back, are you able to go to Hajj? Yes. And do you have the money to do so? Yeah. Are you fit to do so? It's like, yeah. Why do you need an istikhara for something obvious then? This is common sense. You should go. But the person said, but no, this is a big decision in my life. That is where many come with this wrong understanding and notion that the Quran is a fortune-telling book. I consult it to understand whether the future plan that I have outlined is a smart decision. That's not going to happen. The Quran will not tell you how the results of your decision will be like. It's a moment where after you have exhausted all of your efforts and your critical thinking, and you can't choose one over the other, Obviously, both of these examples being examples that are neutral, if this was a better choice for you to do, you don't need to do istikhara regardless, then istikhara is necessary. But many people come with this false delusion that I need to do istikhara all the time if I want to be sure and confident that the next decision I'm going to take will be one within ridha Allah, the satisfaction of Rabbul Alameen. And that's not what istikhara was meant for. At the end of the day, we need to look back into the origins from the teachings of the Imams of Ahlul-bayt and the Holy Prophet and the Quran itself. What do they invite regarding consulting the Holy Book? And is that the only form of istikhara? What are some ways many people have exploited it? And what is the modern cultural understanding of how it's done? And are we just really wasting our time when someone does a khira and they reject the khira? Am I able to take another one? Or if I don't like the results, can I just go and defy it? Is it haram? Because if I looked into the Holy Book and I got a response, then I go against it. Is that wajib on me or no? These are very critical questions we need to address, because today there's a hysteria. There are people that will not make decisions in their lives the minute unless they consult the Holy Book. I know an individual, even when going out to a restaurant, eating food, the waiter or waitress will ask them, do you want this drink or do you want Pepsi? Like 1 minute, and they'll do an istikhara to come out with the results. So I don't know where you found Pepsi and this and that in the Holy Quran, but how you came up with that decision is beyond my understanding. But this is paranoia. This is too much. This is excessive. This is like OCD even. The Quran al-Kareem is meant to be used in critical situations. Let us observe some problems that we have seen lately within this case. Number one, exploitation. There are people that live by istikhara, by the way. And if they charge you for a khira, don't take their istikhara. Or you think Allah is going to send them divine inspiration at the price of your dilemma, your disorientation. That's how people make their money suddenly. I asked a friend, we were discussing passive income and how to make it and how to get out of the rat race, etc. He's like, yeah, I have this and that and this property. And I also, once a week, I do about 10 khiras for people. And what does that have to do with passive income? He's like, well, I charge them $100 each. That's a good business. Istikhara, my, that's a wonderful business. But are you genuinely helping these 10 individuals per week that reach out to you? He's like, well, here's what I do. I open the Quran and I look at the translation because I can't read Arabic. And so if I feel the translation is relevant to their case, then I've helped them, right? And then they pay me $100. I'm like, where did you convince these people? Like one time I did istikhara for an individual and it worked out. I said, do it, they did it, they succeeded. And this is now confirmation bias. So this guy is known for his khira, his own istikhara. Well, the problem is he can't even read the book, for goodness sake. That begs you, إِنَّا أَنزَلْنَاهُ قُرْآنًا عَرَبِيًّا لَعَلَّكُمْ تَعْقِلُونَ. He doesn't have i'qal, he just goes through a translation all of a sudden. Khira, istikhara, brothers and sisters, is meant to be put in a very crucial decision. The following is a proper example. There was a time when people were going through immigration and they don't know whether to stay or to leave. And I remember my family, they're like, this is a very tough decision to make, coming from that time period in Iraq, especially under that regime. So we didn't know what to do. Consulted one of the scholars and they said, look, there's goodness in getting out of here. At the same time, there's goodness in staying. So we can understand why you're disorientated. Because if you leave, what about your old family? What about your uncles? But if you stay, there's a chance you'll be a victim. So this is a clear dilemma. You've reached the fork in the road. Khira is your last case resort. However, you need to exhaust all of your options first. You can't just jump straight to the Holy Quran and say, okay, what does the Quran have to say when you haven't put common sense? We have a saying, Al-khira and al-hira. Khira is when you are in the state of hira. Hira is confusion. I really don't know what else to say. Like, I have no idea what to do here. I will consult the Holy Quran al-Kareem. Or you might find اعقل ثم توكل. And this is a hadith from the Holy Prophet. Use your reason, then tawakkal ala Allah. So you're telling me you've used your reason and then you've exhausted and you still didn't come up with a decision one way or the other. You're exactly 50-50. Okay, go ahead, use the Quran al-Kareem. But many people, they don't do that. They like to exploit the Holy Quran, and the worst of the worst is when people exploit others for their delusion, their money, and they make a living out of this. Because at the end of the day, this is doing a disservice to the Holy Quran. The Quran is not meant to be misused like that. The Quran al-Kareem is a book of enlightenment. Now suddenly became a business book, subhanAllah. Or exploiting off of people's backs and misery and confusion. In the origins of the teachings of Ahlul-bayt, do we even see this method? Because last I checked, the Quran al-Kareem, was it published as a book during the life of the Holy Prophet, such that the Prophet can teach people, open it, the two folds, whatever you see the ayah on the right page, was it that? Because I remember the last ayat of the Holy Quran were Al-Yawma akmaltu lakum dinakum in Surah Al-Ma'idah, right after the event of Ghadir Khum, and then the Holy Prophet left the world 2 months later. Was there enough time that the Quran was compiled and distributed such that the fiqh teachings of Istikhara, how it's done, was completed then and there? It doesn't seem like the case. We do have a narration from a Shaykh al-Tusi that mentions Al-Yasa' al-Qummi approached the 6th Imam of Ahlul-bayt, and he said to him, Salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayh, I'm at a crossroads, Yabna Rasulillah. I have a very important decision to make. I don't know what to do. And I have exhausted my efforts. I've looked into this and I've thought about it, and I've looked into the other choice, and I honestly cannot choose one. What do I do in this situation? I have a state of hira that I am experiencing and exhibiting. Imam al-Sadiq said to him, open the Mus'haf al-Sharif, look into it, you will find your solution. And so this is a narration, it's only one though. One hadith from a Shaykh al-Tusi mentions the 6th Imam helping this individual, Al-Yasa' al-Qummi, a companion from the Imam, said, look into the Quran, you will find your solution into it. But now we have other forms of istikhara that many have neglected, of which, by the way, there are more ahadith to support than even this current method of the Holy Quran that we are using. Not to neglect that significance, however. We just mentioned there's a hadith. One hadith is sufficient. Imam Sadiq said it, that's it. If he's the only one in the world who said it, this is the way I approve of this, khalas, that's accepted. But if Ahlul Bayt continue to stress on different variant ways to consult Allah, using your confusion and then turning that into a response, then let's also observe that. Another form many have considered is the whole tasbih, masbaha. Many of us have seen that there are those who will say, I'm going to do istikhara, 1 second, they just pull out a sibha. How did you do that? Where did that come from? We notice that the method goes like this. You hold at 2 ends of the sibha, random ends, not at the very start where you can start, some people like to set it up in a way where it fits in their favor. Or even with the Holy Quran, they know where to open. They'll put a bookmark, it opens it here. This whole chapter is talking about Jannah. So it's going to be in my favor. This has to be random. You grab in 2 different ends, and you have to take beads, the tasbih, one out of the other, move them until you get to the last one. If it's 1 left, like it's an odd number, it's good. If it's 2 beads left you can't take, it's not good. This is one method, although this does not have enough ahadith to support it. In fact, we don't have a hadith for this. We have, for example, our ulama that say the Ahlul Bayt recommended this, but we don't have any chain leading back to this. We don't. For example, we have a Sheikh Murtada al-Ansari who mentions that this was something the 12th Imam of Ahlul Bayt, may Allah hasten his reappearance, would encourage people to do. He doesn't refer to a chain. Maybe perhaps he probably had it and he didn't need to share it. Of course, we're not going to assume people just made up stuff. And there's a consensus by our ulama that this is a method to do istikhara from. But we don't seem to have, if we're talking strictly scripturally and through the method of ahadith. We do have one for the Holy Quran. There's another, however, this one has tens of narrations from the Ahlul Bayt. From Imam al-Baqir to al-Sadiq to al-Rida. Salamullahi alayhim. This one is a very unique method. And this one doesn't involve the Quran. So you don't need to be an expert on tafsir. You don't need to know the language. You don't need to go to a person. By the way, you don't even need to go to an alim to do istikhara to begin with. If so long as you can comprehend the words and what's being said, does it represent your situation slightly? Do you see a connotation? You're off on a business venture. And then you read in the book that riba is haram. Okay, then that means you're going to get played in that business venture. It's not good to do. It's just pure comprehension. But it's always better to go to the ulama and the scholars. Why? Because they might have an insight into the Quran you might not have. I remember one of the ulama, Sayyid al-Mar'ashi in Qom, a man came up to him in the early 90s and said to him, Sayyidina al-Marja', I have this big deal. I'm going to not say what it is, but I need you to do istikhara for me, if I do it or not. He says, okay, did you make your intention? By the way, that's a condition. You have to make your intention. Internalize that, yes, now I am hoping, Ya Allah, you can give me a response from the Holy Quran through this blessed alim or alima. The alim, Sayyid Marashi opens it, he looks into the ayah, he closes the Quran, he's like, don't go to Britain. It's like, how the heck did you get Britain from the Quran? And how did you know I wanted to go to London? He's like, just don't go. He's like, oh, you've somehow tapped into the world of the unseen. I'm not going to go. Yalla, I'm not. He decided to go anyways. He went and he got into a fatal car accident, unfortunately, what was told. Sayyid al-Marashi in Qom, they asked him, Sayyidina, you actually advised this guy not to go. He went against the advice and clearly it wasn't in his favor. But how on earth did you get Britain, London from the Quran? He's like, I opened the Holy Quran and my eyes fell on the ayat, Inni wajadtu imra'atan tamlukuhum. And I saw a queen that rules over them. And I thought to myself, where on this earth do we have a queen today? A queen currently sitting in the UK. And I'm like, okay, this man probably wants to travel. Don't go. And instantly he got his response from that. Oftentimes we also see cases such as very relevant responses from the Quran. I remember Sheikh Murtada al-Ansari, the great alim from Najaf, when he assumed the marji'iyya back in the 19th century, late 19th century, they went and congratulated his mother, who was still alive in Iran, in the city of Dazful. Najaf is far from the city in Iran. So they went and told her that, your son became a grand marji' deen. Congratulations on that. She's like, oh, I already know he did. Back then, they didn't have electronics to update people. So they're like, how did you know though? Because it takes a few weeks to get to here and from there. And as soon as he became this, we went to go congratulate you. How did you get that knowledge before we did? She said, when I was young and when he had just been born, he wanted to go to Najaf to study. I was hesitant. I said, don't do it. I'm scared for you. And I fear that you go to Najaf, you'll never come back. Of course, a mother wants to stay with her children, even if the pursuing is something noble. I want to study in the Hawza. And this could be a message for our children today who are interested in pursuing Islam. They want to go and study and learn. Let them go. Allah will return them to you one day. She's like, he wanted to go. He was a young boy. I'm like, you're still young. We waited. He got older. He became a teenager. I didn't let him until we decided to do Istikhara. She's like, I opened the Quran and I got to the ayah of the mother of Musa. وَأَوْحَيْنَا إِلَىٰ أُمِّ مُوسَى. And Allah revealed to the mother of Musa that if you fear for him, put him into the basket, let him go. إِنَّا رَادُّوهُ إِلَيْكِ. We will return him back to you, don't worry. And eventually, the Shaykh returned back to his mother to meet her and greet her, and he brought her to Najaf as well. She's like, I already had my tawakkul on day one, so I wasn't going to be surprised that he was going to be something special because Allah has already shown us these signs. So it's always recommended to go to those who are learned, those who know the Quran. Of course, imagine trying to do istikhara to someone that misses their salah. Yeah, good luck finding any sort of response. Or you're trying to do istikhara with someone that does ghibah. Or you may do it, but you have your shortcomings to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And of course, there are prerequisites to doing any of this, brothers and sisters. Number one, beyond wudu, tahara. That spiritual cleansed and purified state, exhibit it in the state of trying to do istikhara or outside it. Always be in that clean, pure state. That's one. Two, if you owe Allah something, give it back to Allah, then consult Him for this advice. You owe Him 5 prayers. Pray them, then consult the Holy Quran. You owe Allah charity here. Go give that charity. And what's more important than the rights of God are the rights of man and women. Those are more important than the rights of God. Because Allah can forgive you. But when you usurp the rights of people, Allah's forgiveness is contingent on theirs if they decide to forgive you. Backbiting, stealing, wronging, cheating other people. Go and mend these relationships, then come back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the best thing to do would be to consult those who are close to Allah already. And you know what this is? This is a form of wasila. And of course this makes perfect sense, except to the non-Shi'i. They'll tell you that, no, go straight to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I agree, go straight to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But last I checked, Allah didn't talk to you directly to talk to you about Islam. He sent you a wasila, and that was the Holy Prophet. If Allah uses a wasila to get to you and I, who are we not to use a wasila to get back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And is there a better wasila than Muhammad wa Ali baytihi at-tayyibin at-tahirin? But inaccessible at the given moment. So the next best thing are those who know the rights of the Ahlul-bayt. Let me approach them. So the ulama are wonderful resources, but you don't need a scholar to do istikhara for you. There is a method, however, that doesn't require Quran, ta'wil, wala tafsir. And doesn't require the whole sibha, where some ulama have even debated its legitimacy because of the lack of scriptural evidence. This one has tons of narrations, and you can all do it today, by the way. It's a powerful one. This is a salah, and it's called literally Salat al-Istikhara or Salat al-Raqa'. Raqa' means paper. And the following goes like this. You make your intention, Ya Allah, I really don't know what to do. Let's not forget, you've exhausted all your efforts, you thought very well, you really don't know what's left to do. You shouldn't do istikhara, by the way, for something that's good. Ya Allah, and by the way, this is really common, should I get married or no? Yani you need to consult the Quran to realize if you should complete half your deen. That's common sense, go do it. Maybe the details of marriage, this person, they have this habit, I'm not too sure, but I like the idea, then fine, consult the Quran. But just in marriage by itself, there's no need to do istikhara. Because what if the person who did it was really not the best at doing these sort of things, and they just lost you a marriage? At the end of the day, zawaj is ikmal nus ad-din, completing half the religion. Like I remember there was a young boy, I'm not going to mention who, you're probably looking at him. He one time asked his dad, I just want to know what you say, if I want to get married, what would you do? He's like, why do you want to get married so young? Back that time, that young boy was 16, subhanAllah. He's like, you know, I want to just complete half my deen. Did you guys always say, it's half of your religion, complete, get married? It's like, okay. It's like, Baba, do you even have a deen to complete half of it? Go pray, go pray. Some people, they need to do istikhara for zawaj. Zawaj is good. You don't need any istikhara. Wallah, I want to go ziyara. Let me take khira. No, just go. Tawakkal ala Allah. Imagine it came out not in your favor and you miss ziyaratul Hussein over, you know what, not good. Not good, what does that mean? Go do ziyarah. What's not good about doing ziyarah? Losing your life, that's the biggest honor in the way of Ahlul-bayt. Losing yourself, ana majnoon al-Hussein. What's the worst that can happen going to ziyarah? Common sense areas don't need. This method is the salah. You make the intention that you're going to pray the prayer which is meant for istikhara. This one has tens of ahadith, by the way. Then it's just 2 rak'ah like Salat al-Fajr. You complete the salah and you would have already written, this is a very detailed method, on 6 different papers. No one come and question this because the Ahlul-bayt made it very clear. I understand people say, like, 6 papers, just pay attention. Ahlul-bayt recommended 6 papers. On each one, write the following. Astaghfirullah al-Aziz al-Hakim li fulan ibn fulana. Now, I beseech Allah, istikhara, the grand and almighty and exalted, but did you pay attention? Li fulan, fulan just means fill in the blank. Ibn or bit, fulanah, not fulan. You put your mother's name in this. And you can write this in English. I beseech or I ask or I consult Allah, me, MohammedHassan, the son of, and then you would put your mother's name, for example. Why the mother's name? Why not the dad? Don't know. I have no idea. Ask a Sadiqi min al-Muhammad. This involves the mother, subhanAllah. Perhaps your world is your mom, and your Jannah is your mom, and all that is beneath her feet. So what you want is khair, isn't it? Is there any bigger khair than her? So perhaps it's through her as a medium. I'm not too sure. There's wisdom in this, but it's your name and your mother's name. You write this on all of these 6 papers, and on 3 of them you write do, and on the other 3 you write don't do. If'al and la taf'al. You mix them up. Some say put it underneath your prayer mat, and then you draw 3. You draw 3 randomly, at random, You don't label it the way you want it. Over here the yeses, over here the no. Should I do this? Yes, here you go. No, that's not random. Put it, mix it, and grab 3. If the results are overwhelmingly yes, tawakkal ala Allah, go ahead and do it. If it's no, then it's no. But this, brothers and sisters, again, is for when you finish, and I can't stress this enough, exhausted all of your efforts. You have to put some time in to think. Yeah, technically it is in my favor if I make that decision. But let me just double check. No, the istikhara is redundant here. Redundant. It's in your favor, do it. Tawakkal ala Allah. Go ahead. You've reached that fork in the road, go ahead and do it. Is it haram to do this constantly? No, it's not. Is it haram to go against the khira? I called the Maulana. I'm like, Maulana Sayyidina Habibi, please, it's really difficult. Can you do this for me? It does it. Look, I don't think it's good for you to do this. So just with the Quran I got as a result. So okay, goes the next day does it. Why? First of all, why did you waste the Quran's time? Why did you waste the Maulana's time? You asked him for advice, you got it, you rejected it. That's actually insulting to do. You got the advice, take it. You don't like it? Whatever. Is it haram to go against that advice? No, it's not. It's not haram. It is insulting though. It is unbefitting. But if you still want to go against it because an emergency happened, I didn't know whether to move or not, situations changed. Now it looks like I have to get out of here, but I already did istikhara and it said don't do it. What do? In this case, there is a recommendation you can do. Pay sadaqah. Because there's only one thing in this life that can change the future, and that's sadaqah. Give charity. Give to those who are in need. Allah will raise your darajat, and this is the only thing in this dunya, ulama of theology and aqa'id maintain, that can change your akhirah and your dunya. What we do today changes our akhirah. The only thing that changes your dunya and akhirah is sadaqah. You gave, therefore you will be blessed. Allah will extend your life. The ahadith are plentiful. A myriad, a plethora of narrations that talk about how sadaqah impacts your life physically through rizq and longevity and health. So if you want to go against it because your decisions have changed and circumstances are no longer the same, give sadaqah, then say Bismillah and go. You would have already donated in this situation. Now, brothers and sisters, we observe from the life of the Ahlul-bayt, the lives of all of them. Do we ever see them doing istikhara or no? Yeah, we do actually. A man came to Sayyid al-Shuhada after waves of people coming to him and said, Ya ibn Rasulullah, don't go. It's not worth it. Kufa is dangerous. We don't know what's going on. Don't go. What did Imam Hussein say? All of the traditions maintain this. He said, سَأَسْتَخِيرُ اللَّهَ عَلَى ذَلِكَ. I will consult Allah over this. Now, what does Imam Hussein mean when he says that? سَأَسْتَخِيرُ اللَّهَ عَلَى ذَلِكَ. Yani I'm going to open the Quran. I'm going to speak to someone. Hey, what do you think? No. He means I'm going to call upon Allah in this situation. Because Abu Abdullah is the walking, talking embodiment of the Quran. So he knows what his responsibility is. But he reaffirms it with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that he will continue to pursue that effort. We do see, however, that the Quran al-Kareem, with its beauty, with its gems and lost meaning and so much deep, controversial, sometimes even, points and areas, many people have misinterpreted it, brothers and sisters. I don't recommend today that someone goes and just willy-nilly, like they say, open the Quran and start finding their destiny inside like that. I need to know what happens to me tomorrow. Let me look into the Quran. The Quran is a reasonable, easily to understand book, but it's also comprehensive. It's not the easiest thing to interpret. And this is also the reason why many scholars maintain, don't gift the Quran like you gift it as a gift. Why? Number one, do you even read the Quran as much as you wish the other person who will receive it will read it? Number two, these people who will read the Quran, are they going to comprehend it or are they going to be shocked? There are some things at the base might seem controversial. Like my non-Muslim friends, if I gift them the Quran, what if they land into chapter 5, Surah At-Tawbah, ayah number 10 or 9, etc.? What if they land, no, chapter 9, verse number 5. 5 is Surah Al-Ma'idah, 9 is Tawbah, or Bara'a, otherwise known as. And they get to ayah number 5, and فَإِذَا انْسَلَخَ الْأَشْهُرُ الْحُرُمُ فَاقْتُلُوا الْمُشْرِكِينَ حَيْثُ وَجَدْتُمُوهُمْ, and kill all the disbelievers wherever you find them. Well, that's going to be something that will throw them against Islam. So if you gift the Quran and you're looking for meaning, brothers and sisters, make sure you always have what? The tafsir with it. Give the translation of the Quran with its meaning. The Quran is not just an easy book you can give like that. What books can we recommend for people to read to learn more about Islam? There isn't a bigger question that I have ever been asked Alhamdulillah, speaking in multiple communities other than this one. What books would you recommend to learn more about Islam? Of course, the Quran is an easy one to say, because if you want to learn more about a religion, go to the book of that religion. But it's a comprehensive book, brothers and sisters. I would recommend the following. Please note, this is inshallah something that will be beneficial. If you have to gift the Quran, gift it, say, read the Quran, but from chapter 50, Surah Qaf, and back. Yani going to Surah Nas, not going to Baqarah. These chapters are usually the smaller ones, and they talk about universal, beautiful principles. Not to say that the rest don't. Don't hear me wrong. They all talk about universal, beautiful principles. But these ones, like Surah Hadid, and Nas, and Ma'un, these are easy to comprehend to the person that says, I love that quality of taking care of those who are underfed. Surah Al-Duha is an amazing surah for someone who's new to the scene to understand. But when you go and you say, read it as how you like it, you're going to sometimes potentially do a disservice. This person will be like, okay, this religion is tough. First of all, as a feminist, marrying for, where's the equality? Okay, I'm going to get myself in trouble. But in that case, how come I see this? Where is the equality here? This ayah doesn't make sense to me. That's very violent. They don't know the context. There's a history to the Quran. There's a context. There's a verbal context. So there are many things you have to keep in mind. If you have to gift it, say chapter 50, go back. These ones are easy to comprehend. Then if you finished it, then you and I together can look at the remaining chapters of the Holy Book, but with its tafsir, brothers and sisters. Now, returning back to the core issue here. Someone once came to the sixth Imam and said to him, I need you to consult Allah for me. But this is a matter that involves my rizq. So, do you think I should pursue it or no? He was from Baghdad and Imam Sadiq was in Medina. He came to him. He's like, I'm going to go back. Tell me, I have an opportunity that just struck open in front of me. It's a really good one, but I don't know if I should do it. What do you think? He basically is doing istikhara with the Imam, because the Imam can link that knowledge from the above. He doesn't need to necessarily open the Quran. Imam al-Sadiq said to him, don't do it, it's not good. He said, but why? He's like, you will not succeed in this business. He's like, okay, thank you. I have to get back to Baghdad nonetheless. He goes back to Baghdad. He then sees the opportunity still waiting for him. You want to sign this or no? You want to open the business and these shops are all yours? You know, he said, no, I won't succeed. Well, if I don't succeed, I'll learn. He does it. He signs his name. He went against the teachings of his Imam and his advice. He then, a year later, from Hajj, he comes to Medina. He's going to Hajj. He meets up with Imam al-Sadiq. He's like, listen, Yabna Rasulillah, you remember 1 year ago said to me, don't do the business idea that came in front of you because you won't succeed. Look, I'm a multi-millionaire. I'm absolutely filthy rich. I never understood these adjectives, by the way. Filthy, stinking rich. Just say rich. Why you gotta demote yourself, subhanAllah? He's like, I'm so wealthy. You said I wouldn't succeed. Imam al-Sadiq looked at him and asked him, really, you've succeeded? He's like, yeah. He's like, how is your salah like now? He's like, you know what, come to think of it, all of it is qada. All of it is qada. I'm too busy focusing on the business. I don't have time to pray. It's all qada. Then he's like, then you failed. Success is not in business. Because who ultimately is the king of rizq? Allahumma innahu laysa li ilmun bimawdi'i rizqi wa innama atlubuhu bi khataratin takhturu ala qalbi fa'ajulu fi talabihi al-buldan fa'ana fima ana talibun kal hayran la adri. This is, by the way, the dua. Imam al-Sadiq said it. This dua reflects to us that rizq is from him. I said you won't succeed. I wasn't referring to your filthy, stinking business. I was referring to your akhirah, because that's true rizq. And Allah has it. You rejected now. All your salah is qada because you're too busy. And this, by the way, is a tragedy I've seen today. Today. You ask the guy when he tells you his schedule. He's like, you know, Sayyidina, I go to work a little bit before noon and I come back 9 p.m. But Salat al-Maghrib is like 8 something. So you pray at work? He's like, no, I don't pray at work. I pray when I get home. But you get back, technically it's going to be qada at that time until your work finishes, until you get home. He's like, yeah, I just pray as qada. Habib, that's not good. Pray your salah. I mean, we all have time in the work to go to and relieve ourselves, don't we? Doesn't that take like a few minutes? Okay, how long is the salah going to take? We're not saying pray salah Ja'far al-Tayyar. We're not saying pray the salah with all its mustahabbat. Ja'far al-Tayyar salah, by the way, it takes approximately an hour. But this salah that you pray, your wajibat, get them done. Skip qunut if you have to. If you restrict it on time, I know brothers and sisters who are researchers in a lab. These guys, they can't take off their suit and go and clean and sterilize and etc. and come back. It's difficult for them. But you can technically use the washroom. So in that time period, why can't you just go and pray to Rabbul Alameen? You're missing out. Yeah, I do this because it's an opportunity. If this opportunity is missed, I might not land that job. So the job is meant to do what for you? Give me rizq. But who's the razzaq ultimately? Why are you defying him for something that is in his hands already? With regards to consulting the Quran, brothers and sisters, we encourage people to consider that. Yes, use the holy book. In fact, this is a sign of your iman, that I will leave my decision making up with him. But there's a reason. Don't overdo it in the way where you're doing things unnecessary. Are you genuinely exhausting all of your efforts? That's the condition. Have you seen what you want? Is it for your benefit? You don't need it. Just go and do it. Don't miss out on these opportunities. There was a lady, she is a Chaldean, Christian, Iraqi woman from California. She calls my father to do istikhara for her. My father asks her, he's like, but technically, are you even a believer in the Quran such that you want istikhara from me? Every Friday prayer, she calls in. And she's like, Sayyidina, I want a khira. He's like, okay, but you're not Muslim, but why do you want that? She's like, no, it's worked before for me, I want it. So my father likes to tell her, okay, at church, light one candle, I'll do a istikhara for you. We'll make a trade like this. It works. There are benefits to these brothers and sisters. The term, if you study the etymology of istikhara, any word, and you'll notice, by the way, and I want you to dig into your brain and think, where do I see this as well? Any word that starts with I-S-T, ist, like that in Arabic, alif, sin, ta, that always means asking for something. Astaghfirullah, I want ghufran. Astansir, I want nusra. Astambit, I want to extrapolate teachings and rulings. Astansih, I want nasiha. Astaghfir, astarham. Any word that begins like that, the etymology means I'm asking. Istikhara means I'm asking for khair, goodness. So that is always your focus. Whatever decision has more khair in it, just go. Go take that path. Both decisions are khair. I go and stay and be away from my family, it's not good. But the khair in that is I'll survive potentially from this regime. I stay, the danger is that I might be a victim, but the khair is with my family. There's two khair and there's two evil. So now istikhara is necessary. Yes, go ahead and do that. But don't be that person that exploits it. Don't be that person that also gives money for it. It's not healthy. Money for the Quran's advice, or you could go do it at home. You could go learn the Quran, do it yourself. It's not supposed to be a business, brothers and sisters. And I know there are people, they live their entire life just doing this. Like my friend, it's his passive income, mashallah. It's a good business somehow. But that's not supposed to be the case. Give people advice. Help them, guide them. Be a source of guidance. You who's asking for guidance from Allah, make sure you ask people. Mushawara. If you're looking for the Quran's advice, you know what the Quran says? Washura. Go and consult others as well. And the Holy Prophet did this in the event known as Al-Khandaq. He consulted all of them. Washura bainahum. He's like, what do you guys think we should do if we're all besieged by Quraysh? Salman al-Muhammadi said, just dig a khandaq around. That's a good idea. Let's do it. I need you to get engaged and speak. Let's see what you have to say. If you look for the Quran's advice, how about you take its advice first? How about you consult others? My friend knows a lot about these issues and he's done it before. Let me ask him what he thinks. If after all of that doesn't work out, yalla tfaddal. The Quran is all yours. I recall, by the way, there was a moment in the 10th of Ashura, at the very close to the end, before Sayyid al-Shuhada sets out himself, you had two young boys approach. Imam Hussein would say, I'm going to consult Allah. But for those who are not gifted ismah, infallibility, we go to the ma'soom to get to Allah. Which common sense here. There were two young boys, they said, we're going to consult our uncle. I want to contribute. Everyone's given someone, but we have to give ourselves now. Aun and Muhammad were told by their mother, Lady Zainab, that look, Ramla gave Qasim, Layla gave Akbar, and Rabab gave Asghar. I cannot return back to my mother Fatima having not given from myself also. And we spoke about this, brothers and sisters. A parent doesn't expect that their child one day will leave before them. A child subconsciously expects that one day my father, out of old age, or mother will not be there for me. Will leave this world, will pass away. That's just the cycle of life. They're older. But it's more shocking when a parent loses children. May Allah help and bless you all who's lost children here, brothers and sisters. It's not easy. But you know who you can use as a support for yourself? Use Lady Zainab. She gave 2 in Karbala. And what kind of boys were they? Oh, what kind of sons were these sons? When they walk out to the field, you know what they say? I am Muhammad. I am Aoun. My father is Ja'far al-Tayyar. Of course, their father is Abdullah bin Ja'far, but look how proud they are of their grandfather. Ja'far al-Tayyar, who gave his life for the message of Rasulullah, lost his arms, but Allah gave him wings in Jannah as a result. They are proud of their identity, but it wasn't easy to get there. Sayyida Zainab al-Kubra alayha salam said, you will not disappoint me today. Go to Hussein, get him to tell you, go and fight. They go to their uncle Aba Abdullah, Sayyid al-Shuhada. They're asking him, listen, we want to go fight for you. Imam Hussein said, no, I can't. One was 13 and the other was 11. Aoun and Muhammad. Aoun was 13 and Muhammad was the younger. He's like, I can't. You are the apples of my eyes. I'm not going to let you go. You're not going to come back. And you need to go to your mother. To which they returned back to their mother Zainab. And she, with both of them holding on to them, each hand, came to Sayyid al-Shuhada, her brother. When she came to her brother, she said to him, my Hussein, do you remember the smile of our father, Amir al-Mu'mineen, when Aba al-Fadl went out to the field? Don't deprive me of that smile when I want to send my children out. And they are killed and they will be killed. So let them die in the way of Allah anyways, which is a strong point. They're ultimately going to be killed. How many children died after the event of Karbala to Sham? She sees that they're already going, let them fight and give me this honor. Sayyid al-Shuhada, with a heart broken, sends his nephews to the battle of Karbala to face the hundreds, to face those thousands of men, brothers and sisters. And when they went to the field, Aoun and Muhammad stood up and they began to call out, I am the son of Ja'far, I am the nephew of Hussein, I will strike at you, unleash all my might, and we will stand and defend the message on this day. When Aoun and Muhammad would fight, whenever one of the enemies came at Aoun, Muhammad jumped in front of his brother. When one of them came to Muhammad, the other one would jump to him to protect him and shield him. But of course these were 2 young boys, and then they all surrounded them. Initially they thought it was not worth the fight. These were young children, why should we bother? But they were met with force and might, the likes of which they never expected, until they came and got to them, brothers and sisters, and they struck at them a strong strike until both of them fell to the ground, one clinging on to the other. Aba Abdullah ran to them, and they were with their last breaths. He looks at them, and he can hear one of them say, tell my mother Zainab, I did not drink water on this day. Tell her we made ourselves thirsty for you, Hussein. Aba Abdullah took them them back to the tents. He saw Zainab, but he saw her not crying at all. He walked away from her. Sayyidah Zainab, when she got to Kufa, did not cry. She got to Sham and did not cry. She wouldn't cry in front of her children. Some of the women would say, why don't you cry? She says, I don't want to add more difficulty to Hussein. Then when she got back to Medina, she went to her home and saw 2 empty beds. At that moment, Lady Zainab began to cry, calling out, Wa Muhammada, wa Auna, wa walada, inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. مأتم الحسين يا حسين يا حسين يا حسين يا حسين يا حسين يا حسين حي على خير العمل حي على حي على خير العمل حي على وحسين وحسين all together وحسين وحسين